Welcome to the second annual Beyond the Flames Dinner Gala. I really appreciate all of you being in attendance. Thank you. I've seen some faces that I haven't seen in a while and got to remember some great connections, so I sincerely appreciate all of you who came to experience this evening with my family and the board for Beyond the Flames. In just over a year, we have achieved tremendous growth and success. Recently, we got our full 501c3 status, and because of generous donations from people like you in this room, we have raised just over $100,000 in our first year, so thank you all very much for that. We have been able to do numerous speaking engagements locally and throughout the country, spreading our message of overcoming adversity through triumph and faith and belief in yourself and humanity. And it's just been a true honor and privilege for me to be able to get out there and talk about this foundation, share my story and that of my family, and to see the difference that it makes in other people's lives. And again, I owe this all to what you guys have done for me in the past year when I started with a very small goal and a small dream of having this foundation, and to see what it's turned into has really awed me, so thank you very much. We've gotten involved in some great charities in the past year. I'd like to mention the Wounded Warrior Project, which helps the men and women coming back from the wars with their disabilities, help them to adapt and overcome. We have been able to be very generous to the 100 Club of Arizona, which helps wounded first responders and their families, and also those that are killed in the line of duty. The Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program, which assists the military after they have come back, trying to get into jobs, reintegrate with their families, and deal with PTSD and anything else that they need to overcome. And we've also formed a great relationship with the Washington Elementary School District, and our message of anti-bullying has gotten out to over 1,000 students in just this second semester, and I look forward to finishing the school year. Next week I will be speaking at the Cardinals Academy, and then we will start in the fall, pick up where we left off, and get this message out to the kids. Dr. Leighton has been with me through my journey for a little over 9 years now. And a lot of you in this room know Dr. Leighton, and because of my kids, I will leave certain words out of this part of the introduction. But I was turned on to Dr. Leighton shortly after getting out of the hospital by my good friend Pat McGroder. And he said, "You got to go see this guy, Bill. He is the best doctor there is." And I spent a few months traveling around. I was in Virginia, I was in New York City, trying to find the best doctor. And finally I got tired of all those airplane trips, and I decided to go meet this guy in Scottsdale. And I make an appointment with him, and I walk into his office, and he sits in front of me, and he goes, "Wow, you are messed up." And I said, "Exactly, that's what I need to hear." And we started just an incredible process of putting me back together. And today he is still my one and only doctor. I mean, I call him for absolutely everything that I need, but more than that, he is a very dear friend of mine. He is an incredibly talented surgeon, but he understands the meaning of life and what imparting the human spirit to his patients truly does for them, above and beyond what a scalpel will do. And I'm so proud and so thankful for your generous donation tonight, but more importantly for the speech you're about to give. So with that, Dr. Leighton.
I'm going to give you a little talk about burn reconstruction, how we do it and why we do it. I think I'm going to start out with the making of a surgeon and how is a reconstructive plastic surgeon made. And I think some of my residents are here tonight, George Lawson, Scott Swanson, they know how they're made, but I'm going to go way back at the beginning. And early on, I knew I was going to be something special. There were several, it was kind of a long and winding road because there were some sexuality issues I had to deal with early on. Well, this is very interesting. Okay, here's me. And this is my little brother who's now the president of Purdue Chicken. So we were able to overcome this, this identity crisis we were having. But then I knew I was captain of the ship. I knew something was going to happen here. Then I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and I almost lost it there because that was #1 party school in the country. And this is our Viking party where we would ride horses in and across the campus with these Viking uniforms on. Somehow I got out of Boulder and got in medical school. I have no idea how. And then there were the women in my life. And it took me a while, in those early days to decide what I was going to do. This is actually when I was a microsurgery fellow. I had 50 pigs I did research on. But we got quite close. I'm not even going to go there. Okay. And then I turned into this. But this cannot do what I do by myself. Right now, I do aesthetic and reconstructive plastic surgery. I'm faculty at Mayo, Rochester, Mayo, Arizona, University of Arizona. Past president, currently I'm the chairman of continuing medical education for the Arizona Society of Plastic Surgeons. Plus, I've been chief of plastics at every hospital in town. But it's my team that really makes me work. There's Jennifer, there's Jody, and there's anybody that knows her, totally crazy Mary Ann. And then we have fellows, this is Esther, and then we have students, this is Jenna. So we have a whole entourage when we do the office. And here's an article right here that I don't know if anybody saw, but it was in Phoenix Magazine last year during the top doc issue. Craig Othier wrote it when he was independently doing things, and now he's the editor, and he's sitting somewhere. Craig, why don't you stand up, because that was a banner article about us. And this is George. I've been telling George, he's been my resident for 2 years, that I was going to take him golfing. So the one time we were able to get together and golf, we got totally rained out. So here's a picture of us all rained out. And this is a couple of weeks ago. I like to treat my residents well. This is at Fleming's, and this is Scott Swanson and his wife, who just had a baby last week. Yay, Scott. This is George Lawson and his wife, who's pregnant. I don't know how these guys are getting time to get home and get these women pregnant. I think it has to do with the residents now can only work a certain number of hours, and then they make them go home after a certain period of time, so it's obvious what's going on there. And then there's Lisa, my sidekick, and me. And these are two people that have been very important to me in my life. One is Ty Tabor on the right, and the other is Pat McGroder, who's been my friend forever and actually got Jason to me. And seeing these two PI guys together is amazing, because if I send a patient to one of them or not the other, I just get a rash of crap every time I turn around. This is one of my newer friends, Dave Barber, who has revolutionized my golf game. He's with the marketing department at Scottsdale Healthcare Shea, and he's been giving me some really good ideas. And this is a guy I met when I was in Nicaragua last year. His name's Aldo Guerra. And Aldo has joined Jack Friedland and I as the only plastic surgery staff at the University of Arizona Phoenix campus, and we now have a plastic surgery rotation for senior students. And this is last year at the Schechterly Ball. I was given the Lifetime Achievement Award. Obviously, the candidate list was really small if I got it. But these guys represent, that's Josh, and that's Jason, and they represent the law firm of Leighton and Abdo, and they're sitting right here, including Nick Abdo, probably the finest law firm in the Valley. McGroder would argue with me. He thinks Gallagher and Kennedy's a little bit better, but these guys are small, and they're a boutique law firm and just starting out. And there's my sidekick, Lisa, who is the wind beneath my wings and really gives me a reason to get up in the morning, and is very philanthropic and just absolutely loves helping people. And and we're celebrating our one-year dating anniversary coming up pretty soon. Anyway, but I just can't go out on the street or my garage and do this stuff. I got to have a facility to do it in. So Scottsdale Healthcare Shea is where we do the majority of our burn stuff, and we do it at Piper Center, and we have designated people that help us. And the new pediatric department at Scottsdale Healthcare Shea has been fabulous for doing our burn patients. But Frank Gillot, the world's best tweezer passer, this guy and I have done more cases. He's done Schechterle, and he's done another patient that I'm going to talk to you about. And this is Lisa Taylor, best circulating nurse in the business. Steve Wickland, hands down the best anesthesiologist. He's at a table back here. Schechterle will not let anybody give him anesthesia except Wickland. And Wickland knows he's got to give him enough Versed before he goes back that would knock an elephant down, and that's what Jason needs. Okay, burn reconstruction. We can do the really simple things, dermabrasion, which is just sanding. We can excise the burn and move unburned skin in to fill it. We can do fancy little Z and W plasties, which break up scars. We can do skin grafts, which are a little more complicated, split and full thickness. We can put expanders or balloons in next to burns and stretch the skin, cut out the burn, and move it. Or we can get really fancy and actually take tissue distal in the body somewhere, distant in the body, and move it, hook up the blood supply, and it'll grow where we move it, and we can actually expand or stretch it before we move it. Okay, now we're going to talk about Schechterle and the surgeon. This is common knowledge. This is a quote from Craig Othier's article, and it starts out with me walking in the room, and that's how Jason and I interact. And sorry, children, but that's what your dad did, and it's a public record. So, I didn't know him back then, but that was one of my goals, to work on, at least working on getting him back looking like that. But first of all, I had to get Jason to me. And this is Pat McGroder actually teaching my kids the position that a defense attorney should take when he's a plaintiff's attorney. No, actually, he's stretching his old creaky body for his 65th golf tournament that we played in. And there's Pat and Susie, very important people in my life, great, great people. And I owe it all because I wouldn't have taken care of Jason if Pat wouldn't have gotten him to me. So I got Jason right after this when he ran with the torch. And this is a morph of 18 operations that I did on him to show what we did and how we did it. And he didn't want any expanders because he'd had them before. So we actually had to take scar tissue and form his nose, form his ears, form his cheeks, open his mouth. One thing he wanted to do was eat a double Whataburger with cheese, and he couldn't barely get a little popsicle in his mouth when I started. Now he can throw them, two of them in side to side. But it just shows what we can do just by using the tissue we have in the area and move it, shape it, form it, put skin grafts where we take it from. But he had no ears. And one of the happiest days of my life is I walked out of the office with him one day, and he put his sunglasses on, and he was so proud to have a nose and ears that his sunglasses didn't fall off. It was just absolutely amazing. This is just another couple seconds here. And then we'll show it before and after at the very end. So he's definitely made progress. Now he whines about his nose all the time, so I got to take one of his ribs and make a nose out of it next. We'd get off the speaker circuit long enough to do it. TV interviews, paparazzi. I mean, he's he's out there. That's dermabrasion, where we've sanded the skin down to try to get rid of the roughness of the scars. But as you see, he's got a nose, he's got a mouth, he's got an upper lip, he's got ears. So that's what I was able to do for him. And I think and what I did more for him is I helped him with this resurrection. I nominated him for the Patient of Courage Award, which the American Society of Plastic Surgeons gives every year to patients that have overcome incredible adversity and are role models and are just unbelievable people. And hands down, he got the award. So I took he and Brian, because Brian has to go everywhere, especially if Jason flies, he gets scared or something. So we went to Toronto, and here's Mary Ann, my office manager. Here's the stretch limo that we had to have to get to the Four Seasons. There's Brian and I. We had to sit in the jump seats to let the important people sit in the back. And here's Jason with a couple, the incoming and outgoing president of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, but he's also standing next to Steve Forbes. So we introduced him to some interesting people. And then these are the people that all won the Patient of Courage Award, you know, car accidents, breast cancer, congenital anomalies, but Dickwad's standing about right there. And this is just, you know, the Three Musketeers up there. So I learned a lot about Jason. I learned about his likes and his dislikes. Well, one of his dislikes is French food. Brian and I love wine and great food and cigars, but Jason just is a steak and potato guy, and he wined this entire dinner at the most expensive restaurant in Toronto, which was La Petite Maison something. Important people in his life and things that he does are amazing, and he has his support group. I'm one of them. But he gives back. And this is Stephanie Nielsen. She's known as Nini. She was in a plane crash up in St. John's. She just had a baby. She has a little blog and website and stuff. And she was at one of our fundraisers, and getting those two together was a very touching experience. But things that Jason likes is Fogo de Chao is one of his favorite restaurants. And he gets 2 plates, and those gauchos come, and they just carve a whole beef right in front of him, and he's just eating it faster than they can bring it. He also loves to golf. We're golfing with John Rosenau here, and that's Chubby Leighton in his chubby days. Alan Greenberg, who also does anesthesia for my burn patients. And there's Schechterly. And this is another fundraiser. We play a lot of golf with Mark Curtis, a little chubby guy down there, and then these tall guys here. This was McGroder's 65th, where after we saw Pat bending over and sticking his ass up in the air, we had to console each other for a little while. Probably one of the greatest pictures Jason has seen. We were able to pull this off at a fundraiser we had and get a picture of him talking about Bear Bryant, who's one of his great heroes. But the silhouette of Bear with him, you still got that hanging somewhere, don't you? And we've actually turned out to be a lot more than doctor and patient, just very, very good friends. Now, there's another patient I want to show you how we reconstruct, and this is an amazing story. I was in Nicaragua, and I'd go out and have my cigar, and this guy would protect me from the Sandinistas. I called him Gunboy. Actually, Aldo was down there with me during this whole thing. But this is a case Aldo and I did together. This is a burn from somebody threw acid on this guy. Hypertrophic keloid scars, and we were able to just excise these whole things and move tissue around and get them back together again. This is a lot of the stuff we did down there. These kids with cleft lips are just incredibly shunned from the village. They won't let them be seen. They've got to keep them in their little huts, and they bring them in. 45 minutes later, we give them back to the mom looking like that. Change these people's lives. So I was coming back from a very emotional trip in Honduras. I just met Aldo. He was really weird, but I thought we could probably hit it off. And so I'm sitting at the Houston airport, changing planes from Managua to Phoenix, and I run into this little lady, and I look over at her, and she's very cute, she's very petite, she's shy. So in my shy way, I went up and asked her what happened to her. So she told me her name was Mirabelle, and I was having trouble pronouncing Mirabelle, so she said, just call me Taco Bell. So I did, and she was in a fire that occurred when she and her family came home for vacation, and their gas regulator on their stove had been leaking apparently for 10 days or so, and she turned the stove on to feed her 2 little boys or to make dinner. And her husband, Rudy, was outside unpacking the car, and it exploded. She ended up in the Hermosillo something hospital, I guess they called it down there. The kids ended up, one in Boston and one in Houston at Shriners. But she wasn't at first expected to survive. She had a tracheostomy. She had some bad skin grafts. She then got sent to Maricopa Medical Center, the county burn unit here, where they saved her. And Ruth Tarabi, who's another one of my residents, a lot of people showed up tonight to watch this thing, took care of her in the burn unit. And she got out of the burn unit, and her insurance from Mexico would not cover her reconstruction. She'd build up such a bill, and they wouldn't pay the hospital bills. So I said, come see me, we'll work something out. And so she first came to see me, and we were able to recruit Valley anesthesia consultants, of who Steve Wickland's part of. Tom Sadberry, who's the CEO of Scottsdale Healthcare, who was here tonight, and his financial people, including Jane Wagner, stepped up to the plate and offered total, no questions asked, Hospital care. Frank, my tweezer passer, Lisa, my nurse, all through Scottsdale donated their time. And I donated my time, and then Michael Coffin's here, and we were able to get Mentor to donate expanders to fix her, and I'll show you how we did that. So her first office visit, this is what she looked like. There's Mirabelle, AKA Taco Bell. But these are the burn scars that she had when you really get down and look at them. And the nice thing is she had not burned her neck, except for the tracheostomy scar. I could use all this skin. If I could get it stretched and expanded, I could replace all the problems. So this is before the first operation, and these are the pockets we're going to use to put the expanders in. Some of these pictures are a little graphic, so if you don't like graphic pictures, close your eyes. So this is making the pocket to put the expander in, and that's an expander, which is an empty silicone bag that has a valve hook to it that gets buried under the skin. And we inject those valves, which are actually behind her ears, once a week. And she was first in Phoenix, then she was in Tucson, would drive up once a week. And we started this in June, and we expanded her, I think, until October or something. But now you see where that skin expands, but the burn skin doesn't expand. And so these things are really getting big now. And she's walking around in public like this. I mean, she's overcoming some major adversity, and she's got 2 kids she's taking care of, and she's got a husband who can be a real jerk, and it requires a lot of full-time care. But sweetest patient I've ever had, never complains about anything. And so here these things are really, really big. So we took the expanders out on 10/10. That's how much scar we were able to get out of her face from that expanded skin. And what we do is take that skin and move it up and replace that. And we're just seeing where it's going to go right now. And we're able to literally cut her lips and her nose out of that expanded skin and move it up. So we've now got it up to here. We've got an incredible blood supply to the skin. It's absolutely perfect. I couldn't get any higher. I'd pull her eyelids down too far. But Rudy was very, very happy. And he tried a face-on this, and I was able to slide just enough that he got a mouthful of mustache. But Mirabelle's actually down there watching this whole thing going on and say, hey, what about me, guys? You know, I'm the patient. You guys are up there doing this bromance thing. So here she is, you know, a couple days after she got out of the hospital. She has some drain tubes in. But that's what we were able to get out. And she looks a lot better because she's sitting at my table next to Lisa right now, and that's what she looks like now. So why do we do this? Well, we want to take a socially outcast burn victim out of their shell, and Jason was in his shell, Mirabelle was in his shell, and allow them to become productive members of society, and Jason has definitely done that. So has Mirabelle. We want to aid patients in realizing they're not burn victims, but burn survivors. We're constantly improving techniques. I want to do this to pass the knowledge on to my residents and fellows and students, and the gratification of changing lives is absolutely phenomenal. And plastic surgery has been extremely good to me, and I just want to give something back. Some jerk once said this. He actually is paraphrasing somebody else, but life's 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it, and I'm a firm believer in that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Leighton. Now on to the exciting part of the evening for me and the rest of the board members, and the reason that you're all here tonight. For those of you who have just been introduced to the Beyond the Flames Foundation, and now that we have a year under our belts, it was about 2 years ago I was giving a speech to the Arizona Fire District, about 700 people in the audience. And when it was over, a gentleman came up to me wearing full dress uniform from the New York Fire Department. And he had tears in his eyes, and he said, Jason, I was there on 9/11, and I'm currently going through a divorce, and your story today changed my life. And it was a true moment of clarity that I realized I needed to drop everything I'm doing and follow this path and share my story with as many people as I can, and to create this foundation and try to make a difference in other people's lives. And the whole point of Dr. Leighton sharing that story with you and talking about Mirabelle and Rudy is because they are the first recipients of our Overcoming Adversity Award. And tonight, the board for Beyond the Flames elected to donate $20,000.
We didn't know this was planned. So I have two fears: lizards and public speaking. You don't have a lizard anywhere, do you, Doc? I am floored. I can't believe this. I think that this is amazing. We've always been very, very giving people, and when we would help people, and we still do, we get this reaction, and it makes us feel great. So I hope that this makes you feel great, because it couldn't happen at a better time. We're about to purchase, hopefully, our first home here in the States, and you've made a dream come true for two little boys and my wife. Thank you so much. Dr. Leighton, your team, Piper Hospital, the list goes on and on. The company that gave us the implants, our anesthesiologist, nurses, my gosh, everybody that has touched our lives and Jason's lives. This can never be enough. This thank you that we're giving you could never be enough. And I hope you know that you mean the world to us. You really do. Thank you very much. Honey, you want to say something?
I just want to say thank you to everybody, the doctor, his team, the hospital, his team. Jason, of course, is one of my inspirations. When I saw him, all has he been doing, I said, if he can do it, I can do it. And as I told him, we are really lucky because not everybody has the opportunity to born again and start again. So this is our new life. This is my new me. Thank you for the people who's helping me to a new me. He's new him, and we are starting a new life. And thank you from my family, and thanks for this angel and all the angels that are around me. Thank you so much.
Well, that is the reason why you're all here tonight, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you very, very much. That was one of the proudest moments I've had in the past 10 years, and to my board members, thank you all for taking the time to see that story for what it is and making such a difference in their lives. I mean it when I say that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And, you know, my life changed in an instant. Thankfully, I was grounded with an incredible family and friends and a support network. But I encourage you all to go home tonight and think of what in your lives that you're thankful for, and you know if something changes, it'll still be the one constant. And make that phone call, give that hug, and it shouldn't take a life-changing event or a catastrophe to make us appreciate what we have in our lives. I do wish you safe journeys home. I hope to see all of you next year, please, and to become involved with our foundation. And I got a very short video for you guys to watch, and thank you all very much.